attendance for Indiana Fever games. Are you kidding me? WNBA draft, games on ABC, ESPN, television ratings. She's directly responsible. And people were resenting her for it, like she was the cause of the problems that they had for the lack of recognition. No, she just happened to be born white. That's it. Caitlin Clark hasn't spoken against anybody. She hasn't assisted in denying anybody else the privileges they deserve. If anything, she's tried to provide assistance. A rising tide lifts all boats. She's trying to be the rising tide that lifts the boat.
It appears like Kayla Clark's final preseason game may bring additional drama to the story. I'm waiting impatiently for Caitlin Clark to return, or else I'll be in complete shock. It's actually expected. I don't think she will miss that chance. Caitlin Clark is everything to me. Caitlin Clark has returned with referees who appear to have obtained their credentials from an unidentified source. Don't assume that the referee disputes from the previous season are over. The referees appear to be losing their grip as she drops 30 points.
Like there is more drama coming out of the Caitlin Clark pipeline with her final preseason game.
An inquiry must be conducted right away. There is no justification for failing to defend your best athlete, and we are seeing firsthand how Caitlin Clark is handled. Arenas wouldn't sell out, and TV viewership wouldn't be as high as it is now without Caitlin Clark. Everyone is paying attention because it is a must-watch. However, the way she's being treated is obvious. You know what's more difficult than playing WNBA defense for Caitlin Clark? Locating a referee who watches the game in action. Because we're going to do it again. Caitlin Clark is a major target when she walks into a WNBA game. It gets roughed up like a 1997 WWE bout. And there are too many referees elsewhere. Perhaps they didn't think they were joining a professional basketball league, but rather something else completely. The officiating of the Indiana Fever versus Atlanta Dream game was subpar. It was more akin to a whistle-accompanied interpretative dance. There is a noticeable lack of consistency among WNBA referees. On one play, a foul might not be called on another.
Need to be investigated ASAP. We see what's happening with Caitlin Clark. There's no reason you shouldn't be protecting your star player. Because without Caitlin Clark, there won't be no sold-out arenas. The viewership on TV would not be like it is now, where everybody's watching it because it's must-watch TV. But we are seeing how she's being treated.
With so many good players, including Caitlin Clark, who is probably the most anticipated player to play in the WNBA in decades, inconsistency is bad for the league. The other squad appears to be trying out for a gladiator part as she is out there shooting hoops. She is out there doing everything. Directing the attack, making baskets, and assisting teammates. But it seems like she's getting penalized for playing well every time she moves. Atlanta brought more than simply energy. They appear to be acting according to a script that said, "One shut down Caitlin. Simply strike her if it doesn't work."
WNBA refs, and start the video there and center it on that. The WNBA refs are not consistent. A hit to the arm on one play is a foul, and a hit to the arm on another play is not a foul. The inconsistency is really bad for this league, especially with all these players you got coming in. You got Caitlin leading it, right?
I talked about DJ Kurt's entire issue yesterday, including how physical that moment was. In one instance, Caitlin was even pricked in the eye. No foul, no whistle, nothing. That made me wonder, how many times have they disregarded her contact? It happens more than once or twice. They draw the line when Clark unintentionally strikes the backboard and receives a technical nothing for the hit she's receiving, but a response nevertheless. It's like expecting a crosswalk to issue citations for speeding. Additionally, she receives the season's first technical foul when the umpires do react. She has experienced bumps, shoves, and even trips. Furthermore, the whistle never blew in her favor. She does, however, display a trace of annoyance. All of a sudden, there is an issue. Perhaps the league should install face expression sensors if this continues. After being flung into the chairs, scowl too much. It's a tech. These referees currently act like characters in a frightening movie, ignoring the villain as if nothing were wrong. They would still be shouting, "No foul," even if Caitlin were thrown into the Gatorade cooler. Keep everything going. diverse viewpoints are being generated by this circumstance. While some people maintain that Caitlin Clark made the initial touch, others maintain that she was being seized and treated like a piece of baggage. However, the wider picture here extends much beyond a single instance. It concerns a more significant problem that the WNBA is now facing. The league's officiating has gotten to the point where it seems like the officials are using rules designed for backyard wrestling rather than professional basketball. Clark receives her first technician. Although Caitlin Clark is the most talked about player that seems to be playing in the NHL, she is by no means the only one. The distinction is that she is always in the public eye, which ought to have some significance. This player is a league powerhouse, drawing large audiences and increasing just about any asset's value. Rather, it appears that the plan is to allow her to make as much contact as she can while the authorities ignore it. The sound of the quiet coming from above is nearly as loud as the blow she is really receiving. No leader signs, no public outcry, and no answers. The fact is that Caitlin isn't the only one involved. The game is being grown by other gamers, who are slamming players about with no repercussions. They are sending a strong message if they don't immediately re-evaluate the course and safeguard its potential. Take care of it or move aside. Accountability must be enforced, and there must be penalties, bans, and other measures to demonstrate that player safety is a priority, particularly when it comes to it. And let's face it, WNBA officiating has somehow devolved into a universally bad standard. Every team seems to be affected by the same days. Perhaps each game should begin with a technical already displayed on the board.
Being pushed around, she's being slapped around, sometimes she's being punched around, and the fouls just keep getting harder and harder. When are the refs going to do their job? As a matter of fact, when is the WNBA going to do their job? Because there should be some suspensions, check. There should be some fines, check. And you should be setting an example for your star player. Because God forbid this young lady gets hurt. Everything collapses for the WNBA. So give credit where it's due. Stop with the hate behavior. Start calling the calls the way it's supposed to be.
To be honest though, this isn't about one terrible night or one missed call. It's getting more difficult to ignore this expanding tendency. Teams go for contact and hope the officials remain mute when they see they can't stop Caitlin with defense. Playing hard isn't the point anymore. Playing foul and relying on the referees to remain blind is the key. It is imperative that these issues be handled immediately rather than waiting until it is too late. The Indiana Fever have fulfilled their obligation. Clark is the cornerstone of their strong roster. They've appointed new management, and it's obvious they're prepared to challenge for a championship in 2025. The only thing left to do is for the officiating to improve and cease depressing the league. This pattern is not new to us. Furthermore, if it persists, the WNBA will suffer more than simply negative publicity. And for that reason, I can't let this go. This must remain the main focus. It's obvious that the WNBA officials have a grudge against Caitlin Clark, so I'm not holding back, man. Additionally, you truly demonstrated your hand to the Atlanta Dream. You made the court into a ridiculous obstacle course rather than locking down defense. Caitlin unintentionally serves as the primary obstacle. At one point, I almost expected someone to yell that what we were seeing wasn't basketball at all and a buzzer to go off. It resembled a stunt show more. The referees, meanwhile, nodded as though to agree that the unadulterated chaos aptly reflected today's chaotic style as they stood there unimpressed, almost like they were at a modern art display. It wouldn't be shocking if Caitlin suddenly found herself wearing cleats, a helmet, and football pads. She is obviously not getting by with regular basketball gear when her body is being scrutinized every few seconds. However, given their knowledge of these officials, they would likely give her a technical penalty for being too careful or for not wearing her protective gear.
Indiana Fever fans, we got another W in the preseason against the Atlanta Dream, 81-76. There's a lot that went on in this game. So this was a very competitive game. All the way through, they were given full court defense on Caitlin Clark. For the most part of the game, the starters did sit after 3, Caitlin Clark finished with 13, 7, and 6. She could have had 12 to 15 assists. Wait until you see the highlights. She did drop a couple bombs. She hit 3 3-pointers. We did get a...
Let's discuss the actual catastrophe. Overall WNBA officiating. These referees would be like a baby selecting a favorite crayon if they were any more erratic. You may confront someone directly and get away with it. However, if you respond, you're suddenly portrayed as the melodramatic villain with the mustache. However, the Indiana Fever defeated the Atlanta Dream once again in the preseason. There was a competitive element to this game right away. For the most of the game, Caitlin was obstinately defended with full court pressure, and even the starters took a rest after just 3 quarters. With stat lines of 13, 7, and 6, Caitlin ended the game. Furthermore, she might have easily increased her assist totals to double digits. Simply wait to see the highlights. 3 deep three-pointers were among the several major bombs she unleashed. The league never stops talking about increasing fan interaction, drawing in more viewers, creating buzz, and packing stadiums. Maybe they ought to begin by preventing their celebrity from being treated like she's trying out for a wrestling bout. Seeing Caitlin endure elbows, hip checks, hits, and general bulldozing. It's more like watching a chase sequence in an action movie than a basketball game. Furthermore, the authorities aren't actually making decisions. They resemble ornamental mannequins with whistles more than anything else. At least the courtside cones have a function and don't act like they have power. In the end, it appears like the referees are there more for a workout than to render consistently impartial.